So I'm going to talk about DSP and his audience in a future video, but for now I just need to address this because he said the stupidest thing. The following clip is from Sunspot Gallery, and then there'll be one from Super Crazy as well, because he also raised a point that's related to this in one of his Catch a Pay Pig videos, which I highly recommend, along with Bacon Sweats. There's daily viewing, along with Snell Vanilla, Hot Boy, and Summer Julius Cruz, as you see fit. But those two comprise the primary core of my diet. Don't know why I'm laughing. This is really fucked up. It's like I can't explain how fucked up this thing is. So, right, let's just go for it.
People who follow your every move and know everything about you and stalk you and won't leave you alone, those are fans. It doesn't matter if they like you or not. That's still a fan, because that's exactly what a fan does. Someone who 100% follows the movements and behavior of someone. That's a
no. Like, no. I've seen it before. I knew it was coming. I can't get over it. I can't. Phil, if you're watching this, man with Italian ancestry to man with Italian ancestry, this is the fucking dangerous, most stupidest thing you have ever said. You seriously need to reassess your relationship with your fans. The thing is, because fans by this point are probably like heavily emotionally invested in Phil and how he does and how well his streams do, and you know, in the endless battle against the trolls that never ends. And Phil takes advantage of that to get money out of them. We all know this isn't some massive secret I'm suddenly revealing to you. We all know that Phil manipulates his audience into giving him money, but because of the emotional response they have to it, they have an emotional investment with it, the amount that they become invested in it can affect their behaviour because they are that invested in it now. It's no longer just a fan, it's part of your personality, it's part of your social identity, you know. So when Phil encourages that sort of relationship, it can give people an inappropriate idea of what's acceptable within the relationship that they have with Phil. Fans don't stalk you, you know. It's really fucking dangerous. Like seriously, beyond regular detractor shit, beyond like regular stuff that we criticize Phil for, like with money and WWE champions and everything, beyond all that, this is fucking dangerous. To conflate that is fucking terrifying to me. Stalking comes up quite a bit in forensic psychology. It's often part of intimate partner violence units, and when you know, crimes and things like that, when you talk about cases, it's often involved. So it's a really serious thing, and it terrifies me that it actually shit me up, and I can't let that go because it's so fucking dangerous. It really is. I just, of everything he's ever done, you know, that's a new low for me. That's fucking terrifying.
That's a fan. Now, you may hate me for various reasons. I can't imagine why, because I can't think of anything I've done in the last freaking 5+ years that has done anything to piss someone off who already had insulted me first.
Well, yeah, of course you can't. You're going to see yourself in the best light possible, you know. We all do. Not you personally, but we all see ourselves in the best light possible. As we're constructing our own narratives, that's generally what we tend to do. So of course you're not going to see why people might hate you. But the problem is that some people do have legitimate reasons. You know, some people, you might think those reasons are bullshit, but the point is, to them, in their narrative of their lives, they're legitimate reasons. So that's a reason to hate somebody that will push you away from going and personally interacting with them. You know, there's a reason why Sunspot says regularly, not Sunspot, Super Crazy regularly says on his videos, when it comes to get you, it's not going to be one of us that gets you, because generally if you hate someone to that extent, you want them to fuck off. You don't want to go and interact with them. When you're watching someone from afar like we do with Phil, it's not out of a place of wanting to know more about it. It's out of a place of like, fuck, I can't stop watching this train wreck. You know, it's that sort of thing. We get schadenfreude from it. It's not a case of we are obsessed to the point where we want to know where he lives. you find that with people who like you. You find that with people who like you to an extent that they can understand that it's inappropriate. A lot of this is going to come is coming back to the relationship that Phil has with his fans, and like I've said previously, it's a sort of parasocial relationship. There's a slight skewing of that, because generally a parasocial relationship involves, it's a one-sided thing. You don't generally interact with the person you're in a parasocial relationship with, but because Phil chats and is interactive, it is to some extent not quite a parasocial relationship. But the other part of parasocial relationships is that they're not real relationships. So in interacting with people online, that's not the same as interacting with people offline in real life. So it is a parasocial relationship in that respect. But because they're invested in it, they're invested in the cult of Phil. They're not going to be able to differentiate that certain behaviours are inappropriate because they're that invested in it. They think that relationship is appropriate. That behaviour is appropriate within that relationship because he's not differentiated between this is okay for you to do with me and this isn't. So it's in chasing the money of his fans, he encourages them to be personally invested in him. You know, the Vest Streak is a great example of this. He gets his community, his fans involved in the Vest Streak. Every time contributions were slowing down, he would say, like, guys, we're in danger of losing the Vest Streak. It might end tonight. We need to do something. You know, it's the we. It's the bringing people in. It's the all of us need to do something. Not just me, not just the person who puts on the vest, but you as well, my community, and that becomes something that they can rally round. You know, that becomes a continued symbol of being invested in Phil and being part of the community of Phil's fans. So encouraging that is fine, but it's to a limit. You have to, you know, appropriately distinguish relevant boundaries and say, like, this is the point where, you know, personal interaction with me has to stop. But Phil has set that boundary far beyond what most people would normally consider appropriate, because inviting people into that extent gets him more money. So in his short-sighted, you know, short-term vision, he's going to do that rather than establish clearly from the start that interactions with him are inappropriate when they reach a certain point. So this is the thing that I want to come back to with Super Crazy's video, which I'm going to jump to now.
Number 3 is, and you're about to hear the clip. I'm going to play the clip for you. If you want to find this on Pig Go, type in Only Ice or Only Ice Coffee, whatever you want to type in, and go to the very first interaction between Dave and OIC on Pig Go. And, well, I'll just let you hear for yourself. Here we go.
Only Ice Coffee, cheers. For the next DSP tries to do something from the Chick-fil-A in Tacoma. There's a Chick-fil-A way closer to me than Tacoma, dude.
Right. When I first saw this, my immediate thought at this point was, that's a really good way to get someone to give you your location without them realising it. Because stalkers do this quite a lot. Because he's just said, this area that you identified, there is one closer to me. So that narrows down how far out from Phil OIC was. So if you really wanted to find out, I mean, I know his docs are out there anyway, but this is a method that stalkers use when docs aren't available. So, you know, it's a good way to get Phil to broadcast his location without him being aware that he's doing it. So for somebody who's often manipulating his audience, to be manipulated is quite, it must be quite an experience for Phil, but the point of manipulation is that you don't realise that you're being manipulated, and he doesn't here, so he gives away a lot more information than he should.
There's a Chick-fil-A that's like 2 towns over. I'd say maybe a 20-minute drive. Of course, that would be a pain in the ass to drive there, get it, drive back. You're talking like an hour.
See, so he's just given OIC, there's one closer to me, and it's within 20 minutes. So OIC now knows that Phil lives within this 20-minute radius around this location of Chick-fil-A. So it's a really stupid thing for Phil to do, but he doesn't realise it's inappropriate because he wants the money that OIC is going to bring to him through his continued donation. So he doesn't like immediately shut this down or not address it. He encourages it. He talks and says that, you know, he basically gives information away. He's giving OIC what he wants. He's giving him clues to his location and sort of like saying, I'm in this area. You know, not that we don't know where he is, but most of us, I don't remember his address. Most of us don't keep his address in our memory because we don't need it and we don't use it and we don't want it. So, but to tease information out that way without someone being aware, I don't know why OIC's doing it. Probably a power thing, possibly for, you know, just to sort of like say, hey Phil, somebody's watching you. Or he may genuinely believe it. He may genuinely want to see Phil in this area because he's planning on bumping into Phil. You know, maybe it's a case of. In fact, I think it is. I think this is probably the conclusion that I came to when I first saw this and left a really long rambling note under Super Crazy's video. Probably does want Phil to sort of like mention him and sort of like go, yeah, I'll be there on this date so you can come and meet me. You know, get an autograph or something, have a quick chat. So it's probably starting off as a genuine attempt to sort of like meet Phil and interact with Phil personally, but the more Phil refuses, the more Phil doesn't acquiesce to this, the more reluctant he is, the more desperate OIC is going to become, and the more overt those say displays of, hey, I know where you live, I know your general area. You know, they're going to become a bit more aggressive in intent. They're going to be a bit more overt. They're going to be a bit more desperate, as it were, because OIC's behaviour slowly shifts and his emotions slowly shift because he's going from genuinely want to see you, the casual sort of way, just so I can say hi and get an autograph, to I have given you this much money. You owe me something for that because I have basically allowed you to live. You know, I've basically paid for your life. And the least you could do is come and meet me for a fucking burger or something, you know? So there's a scale of there's a spectrum even of emotions between those 2 points, and OIC is going to shift along them because Phil isn't being appropriate with his fans. He isn't saying this is where it stops, you know, or if he is, it's far beyond what most people would consider appropriate. So anyway, I'm going to keep going with this.
You know, so.
Hello from the future. As I'm editing this, I realised that my video placement in the bottom corner has somewhat obscured the OIC tip on screen. So, here you go. It's going to be a scorcher in Washington State on Sunday. Make sure you hydrate very well the day before and the day of. There you go. That's what OIC said. And now you can not leave comments about it. I know. I fuck up sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to the video.
Alright, so that's an oddly specific message, right? He wants him to do something, and the reason this is important, the reason a lot of these messages are important, is because this is early on in OIC's stay in DSP's chat. He doesn't probably know what Kiwi Farms is, or if he does, he doesn't know the level. He doesn't know that everything he says is being recorded, and some guy fucking later on is going to come back and put these up on the internet, right? He doesn't know this.
Yeah, alright, at that point you don't know, so you probably don't know that Phil's dogs are there, so this is a way to tease information out of Phil on his location. He gives him the location of a Chick-fil-A that OIC knows he's close by, and then says to Phil, hey, are you going to be, do you fancy coming to this one? You know, there's a burger available at this one or whatever, come to this location. And then Phil goes, oh, there's one closer to me. You know, that's how he goes, right, so I know Phil's closer to this one. So I know he's within this area, he's within 20 minutes of this location. That narrows down a lot for somebody who plans on, let's say, visiting, you know? Fuck it. Somebody who plans on stalking somebody. It's a good way to tease information out of them without them being aware of you doing it.
So it's important that he asks DSP if he's willing to do a DSP tries it from the Chick-fil-A in Tacoma. Now, if you're not from the U.S., Tacoma is in Washington State, right? And for whatever reason, you know, I find cities interesting in different states.
Okay, before you go any further, I wasn't in the US, so I did have to actually Google this and find out like how far away they were from each other. So yeah, and even then I was wrong. Like, Super Crazy is going to mention in a minute, and I was like, holy shit, it's even closer. Fuck, you know. Like in my head, to be fair, as a Brit in my head, America is fucking huge. So, you know, when somebody says 2 towns over, to me that's a really long way. But when Super Crazy says this is how far away OIC is from DSP, I thought, fuck, that is really close. So that's the thing that really sort of turned it for me. But fuck, this guy's planning on stalking Phil. And that's why his future comments that I just mentioned previously are terrifying to me, because it's fucking dangerous. You're playing with people's emotions and you're playing with their mental states when you are manipulating them into giving you money, and they can fucking turn on you.
So I know Tacoma, Washington. Like, I know of Spokane, Washington, obviously Seattle. I know a few different cities. I don't know the geography of them, but, you know, I'm familiar with Tacoma. I had never heard of Renton until I came across DSP. So, you know, some cities I do know, and that always stood out to me. He wants him to do a DSP tries it from the Chick-fil-A in Tacoma. Now, doesn't mean he's in Tacoma. He could have Googled, maybe Chick-fil-A is his favorite restaurant. He could have Googled Chick-fil-A near Renton, Washington, and saw that and suggested it. But as you heard DSP say, there's one way closer than Tacoma, dude. It's like 2 towns over, 20-minute drive. So, you know, it's a puzzle piece. You put it in, right? And it just fits into the puzzle, and you continue doing what you're doing.
Also, I want to pause here to say that the way Super Crazy assembles all this information, it's fucking forensic level. It is masterful, you know? It's really well done. It's fucking spot on. Just wanted to appreciate you on that level, mate. This is fucking amazing. The way you've set it up, the way you've assembled it, and the way you lay it out. It is proper forensic psychology level reporting. It's brilliant.
So here we have the next picture, and it's a 100-bit cheer, and it says, it's going to be a scorcher in Washington State on Sunday. Make sure you hydrate very well the day before and the day of. Now, first, are you his fucking mother? What the fuck kind of message is this? And by the way, shout out to Tevin every time he does Mama Burnell impression. I crack up every time. You know, Dave, honey, it's going to be a scorcher in Washington. Make sure you hydrate. You know, I can't do it as good as Tevin, but I fucking cracked up. And no disrespect to Mama Burnell. I mean, she's innocent and all this. No disrespect. It's just something that's funny. But how the fuck would this guy know that it's going to be a scorcher in Washington State on the day that DSP's off? If he doesn't live in Washington State, he's fucking obsessed, man. He's fucking obsessed with this guy and wants him. But you can put 2 and 2 together. You can start putting the puzzle pieces together. This guy either lives in or has lived in Washington State, and he's familiar with that area. All right? So another chicken, that's chicken nugget number 3, whatever you want to call it. Let's go to the next message now. All right, I had to do a quick edit there because the next, it's not actually a picture, it's a clip, and this is the one that tied it all together for me. I've never seen anybody talk about this one. I haven't seen it on Kiwi Farms. I've never seen anybody elaborate on this. If you have seen this before, you know, my apologies. Maybe it'll jog something in your memory and you'll be like, oh yeah, but I had never heard this message before. And when I came across this in my research and I just stumbled upon this, it put everything together for me. And I want you to listen closely, especially at the end, to what he says. Pay attention closely. Here we go.
Only iced coffee this year, so whenever someone uses the strawberry emote in your chat, it reminds me of the guy named Strawberry that's on the Wake Up Show on Q 93.3 radio station that plays in Seattle, and I'm wondering if you've ever heard it. Just listen to it during my drive and work every morning. No, I've never heard any of the radio out here ever. So the answer is no.
All right, so a lot to unpack in that little ass message, right?
Sorry, I know, did it again. The important bits of this one are the date and the name of the DJ down there, Strawberry. So, yeah. I don't want to delay the video for too long, so there you go.
So, by the way, and before we even start on it, you see Dave's reaction. He's so uncomfortable. He's so just defensive. He doesn't like that OIC is near him and knows it. And he just immediately shuts it down. No, I don't listen to the radio. I never heard anything. No, don't ask me that.
Yeah, exactly. See, Phil's picked up on that somewhere along the way between the first clip and that one. the first OIC clip and that one, he's picked up on these suggestions of location, these sort of displays of, hey, I'm in your local area from OIC. He's picked up on it, he's aware of it, and he has made attempts to stop it. He's shutting it down. He is previously, and I don't doubt this, I'm sure I've mentioned this as well, I'm pretty sure that Super Crazy is about to bring it up at some point, but he will have been contacted by OIC previously. It will have been, behind the scenes, maybe by darkside@hotmail.com. He will have, been in touch with him to sort of like say, hey, I'm in this area at this time, do you fancy going for something to eat? Or hey, I'd love to bump into you so I can grab an autograph or something. He will have made attempts to arrange to meet up with Phil. And Phil will have shut this down. And at first, OIC might have taken it quite well because, it's your first attempt. And he's gone, nah, sorry, mate. Hey, how about on this day, this place, we'll go treat, we'll go grab a burger and, it's on me. And Phil goes, nah, sorry, mate, no, not up for it. Not on that day. Whatever. Streaming on that day, whatever. And that's fine. That's easy one for OIC to accept. But the more this happens, the more rejection he faces, and the more frustrated he becomes, the more overt and aggressive these displays are going to become. The thing with stalkers is, and people who go on to stalk, there is a period of I think it's between 6 and 12 weeks. It might be 8 and 12 weeks. I'm not sure. It's a period of between 6 to 12 weeks, depending on lots of variables involving the original stalking perpetrator and lots of things about them and how close they were to the person and how determined they are, all that sort of variable stuff. But in that period of time, if you can get stalkers to desist, they will generally stop and leave that person alone for forever, basically. They'll basically move on from that person. They'll let their infatuation with them go and will move on. Not necessarily on somebody else. They obviously just go on and do their lives, is what I mean. But in specific cases where one person is obsessed or attempting to contact another, there's that period of 3 or 4 months where if it can be successfully shut down, then that stalker will move on and leave you alone. But after that, it becomes much more difficult to dissuade a stalker, and obviously Phil has long since passed this point with OIC. So Phil has recognised somewhere along the way that he's not very comfortable with OIC being, hey, I'm in this area. With OIC's attempts to meet him, basically, so he's made attempts to shut him down by refusing to meet up with him. And that's why OIC responds with these more public, overt displays of, hey, I'm in this area. It's to remind Phil, hey, I'm near you, come and see me. I know that, privately, behind the scenes, you've shut me down, so I'm getting desperate, so I'm going a more public route. So some people might say, what's OIC going on about? Yeah, we should meet up there. Hey, Phil, why don't you go there? Phil, why don't you come see me? He's going to do it in public in the hopes of getting some support, and Phil is obviously going to try and shut it down because he doesn't want anybody to even consider that. So he's made an immediate attempt there to stop it. So let's carry on, because like Super Crazy said, there's a lot to unpack.
He didn't say that, but you can tell by his little demeanor in his voice. But OIC states that he used to listen to a guy named Strawberry on the Wake Up Show every day on his drive to work. And let me ask you another question. Let me ask you a fucking question here. How many of you can name a radio station from a state that you don't live in, name an on-air personality from that radio station, and name the fucking letters and numbers on it, the call letters, call numbers?
I can remember a couple from my childhood, but it was the city we lived in, But outside, if you ask me to, name somewhere from like fucking Somerset or Cornwall or something, no. So yeah, obviously he's definitely in the same state as Phil. He's definitely been there a while.
How many of you can do that?
Or he's in
some
homework.
of you can, but it'll be a small fucking amount. So you're gonna tell me this guy doesn't live in or used to live in Washington State? And by the way, this ain't some nationally syndicated radio show. This is a local show, and I'll prove that here in a minute too. But look at this fucking message right here. So anyways, before we get to the message, I was thinking, when is this from? Is he talking about 2008, 2012, 2014? How many years ago was this? that he was driving to work listening to that fucking show in the mornings. So I looked up Cube 93.3 and I got this fucking message here. And this is September 27 of 2018. It says, Cube 93.3, Seattle's #1 for hip hop, announced today the debut of the Wake Up Show effective October 1st. And again, it's 2018. So we're not talking 10 years ago. We're talking in the last 2.5 years, not even 3 years, that he drives to work every day and listens to that fucking show. And by the way, this ain't something that you say if you listen to it one day when it started. No, you heard him say it. He listened to it every day on his drive to work. And as far as I know, they're still on the air. So whether he's still listening to them, maybe he's moved since then. I fucking doubt it. Because what are the odds that you move in the last, year or so? Especially out of state. What are the odds on that?
Especially with coronavirus, I can imagine that moving is difficult now. Not alone, let alone all the associated costs. It's probably difficult to get. Well, actually, no, I know that around here, around in England generally, houses are being bought very quickly, but the problem is they're being bought so quickly that you sell your house and then you can't really move out because you can't find anywhere to buy another house because they keep getting bought up. So, but yeah, I would imagine that coronavirus has somewhat disrupted the moving industry. So yeah, he's in state. He's still been in state for a long time. He might have moved out and then moved back, but as of at least 3 years ago, judging by that, probably more, probably a few more. I would say at least 5, if not 10 or more. He will have been in state. I don't doubt that he's from out of state. These are overt displays that I am in this area. These are messages to Phil. These are OIC saying to Phil, I am near you. And eventually it's gonna be, why aren't you coming to meet me? I am near you, why won't you meet me? And then at some point it's going to escalate into, right, I'm coming to see you. Because I know where you are as well. Because I've teased that information out of you, or I've googled DSP address. I've basically OIC is going to come for Phil one day. He really is. I genuinely believe that. Let's see why. Here's some more info.
Not great. So for me, that clip tied it all together. And we're going to go into the next picture here. And I want you to see the broadcast area for this station. It's Seattle, Tacoma, and I don't even know how the fuck you pronounce that. Puget Sound or whatever the fuck ever. That's what cities pick up 93.3 Cube. Now, excuse me. For me, it's Tacoma. This dude lives in fucking Tacoma. Again, I don't have his personal information. I'm not doxing the guy. This is my own speculation based on what I've seen. The guy's in Tacoma. He could be in the greater Seattle area. He could be in whatever fucking place that's called right there. I don't know what that is. But for me, it's Tacoma. There's no getting around it. It's fucking Tacoma.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. If those areas are quite close by, again, forgive my ignorance when it comes to American geography, but I would assume that that's a local station, so it's only a couple of areas, and OIC is probably on the border or somewhere close to the border, because if he's saying this is the location of the Chick-fil-A and Phil's going, no, there's one much closer, he's probably picked one that's close to him, and that will be on the border, because if Phil's not in Tacoma, Phil is in Washington State, or Seattle, sorry. So that one will be close enough to the border that Phil recognises it as being this distance away, and there's one or two closer. So I think he's somewhere around the edges of Tacoma, probably, around the border. Yeah. It's just how it's appearing to me as well from all this evidence that's being presented. So, you're a master storyteller, Super Crazy. That should be... It'd be Chef Kiss, actually. Really.
And we're going to show you the last picture. And again, this isn't... excuse me. This isn't normally what I do in these videos. We're going to analyze 2 more pay pigs after this. But he came, and as far as I'm concerned, that was him that made that fucking comment. And deleted it and changed his name like the coward that he is. And then talking all that shit in DSP's chat lately. So I said, you know what, man? Fuck it. If you want to go, let's fucking go. So look at this. And this is today. This ain't even concerning OIC.
There it is. 30 minutes. 30 minutes away. That is really fucking close. That's no distance in America. Actually, I shouldn't have said that, should I? Shit, I'm gonna cut that bit out. But yeah, that's a lot of distance in the UK. I'm imagining there's nothing in America. I mean, half an hour by car. It's not actually no. That's no distance in the UK either. Cars are cars. They travel at fixed rates. You know, they travel at a certain definable unit of speed. So that's fucking nothing either way. Yeah, that would be a worry to me. 30 minutes. I'm just wondering when to break into the next bit because I know this video is coming. Let's go.
If he is in Tacoma, look at that, buddy. A 30-minute drive from you. And by the way, OIC, when you run out of money, if you want to walk there, it's an 8-hour and 31-minute walk. I looked that up for you too, out of courtesy. If he's in Tacoma, Dave, he is 30 minutes from you. When you inevitably piss this guy off, when you inevitably ban him, or talking about he's derailing the stream because he's not giving you any more money, shout out to Major Riot, by the way. When you finally turn this fucking guy off, you better hope and pray that he says, I'm going back to Wings, or I don't care about the money, I'm done with you, DSP. You better hope and pray. Because as I said at the end of the last video, it ain't going to be me, it ain't going to be a fucking detractor, and it ain't going to be Kiwi Farms. When somebody gets to you, it's going to be one of these people. One of your people that you've turned against you. And the difference between this fucking guy and all the rest of them is look where he's at. And even if he's moved, again, I don't give a shit if he's moved. I don't care. I'm done with this after this. Unless he starts talking shit again, I'm done with it. I've covered OIC and I'm moving on. But the difference between him and the rest of them, like Super Soul and all these other guys, is he knows that area, Dave. He probably knows the places you go to. I shouldn't say probably. Maybe he's tried to show up. Maybe he's tried to see you somewhere. And I'll tell you, and I'll end it on this. I'm willing to bet money, real life money, that this guy has told you where he's at, has probably tried to arrange some type of get together with you. But at the very least, he's told you where he's at and how close y'all are. And he thinks he's your friend. He thinks he's part of the team. You better watch your fucking self, Dave. Because when it happens, man, it ain't gonna be us.
I'm gonna stop that one there. But do you have some thoughts I want to expand on? Because yeah, like I said, DSP is manipulating the emotional involvement and investment that his fans have in him to make them feel like that they are close to him in some way, that they are, emotionally invested in him and how well he's doing, both on streams and financially, and basically all aspects of his life. People are invested in Phil because he's manipulating them into being invested in him, because that way money lies. And when it becomes difficult for somebody in that position to determine what are appropriate boundaries for relationships, it is on Phil to establish them, and Phil has not established them firmly enough to dissuade OIC, so his behaviour is going to escalate, because much like with many other psychological phenomena, I guess, much like with other people with personality disorders, with behavioural problems, things escalate, behaviours escalate. Just like addictions tend to escalate because you build up tolerance, behaviours escalate as well. Because the person behind them gets more and more frustrated the more and more resistance they encounter, so they escalate their behaviours. The continued shouting out of, are you in this area? Do you remember this thing from this specific area? Or have you been to this restaurant in this area? His ways of going, I am near you. Don't forget, I'm near you. And this will probably be after several attempts behind the scenes. And the fact that he's that fucking close should be fucking terrifying. Especially when Phil goes, nah, they're good fans. They're the best fans. They're fans, people who do this sort of thing. Because that's going to confirm everything that OIC believes about himself then. He's a fan. And Phil knows that because Phil recognises his behaviours as being what good fans do. So it's going to engender a feeling that, yeah, doing this is fine Phil even said the ones that stalk you are fans. That is fucking terrifying to me. So let's talk a bit about stalking. Normally, sort of rates for stalking are about 25% for women and 10% for men will be victims of stalkers. Maybe some slight variation there depending, but generally it's about that. It's generally about 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men. You can go into disparities between the genders if you wish. I would rather you didn't talk about it in my comments though, because somebody's going to bring up feminism and I know that that's basically going to unleash hell on my comments. But you know what, fuck it. There are reasons why. There are lots of reasons why there's this disparity, and a lot of it is that most abusive relationships, the abuser is the man. Or is it because it's difficult for men to sort of like go, hey, I've been abused in this relationship? It's difficult for societies to accept that certain behaviours from women will constitute abuse, and harassment is difficult for laws and legal systems to keep up with advances in technology. So stuff like online stalking and harassment is not really considered offences yet, so they're not reported in statistics, and there are a lot of factors that go into contributing to what's known as the dark number, which is the true number of crimes that are committed compared to official numbers such as the crime survey for England and Wales and what's the other one? Shit, I can't remember the other one. It'll flash up on the screen here. So yeah, the official numbers for crimes, and then there's the dark number, which is the true aspect, and a lot of things are contributing towards that disparity that might affect overall numbers of stalking. The point is though, with stalkers, if the person is not an ex-intimate partner, for women, half of the stalkers that they will be stalked by, half of the men that they're stalked by are ex-intimate partners. 90% of the people who stalk women are men, and 50% of those are ex-partners. So, yeah. No, that's wrong. It's not 50% of that 90%, it's 50% of everybody who stalks women. Obviously, some women will stalk female partners as well. So, yeah. Almost half of the people that stalk women are ex-partners, and again, that could be because various definitions for behaviours as way women manifest their behaviours towards men aren't considered stalking, or maybe men are too embarrassed to come forward and say, hey, I've been abused and stalked by my ex, or maybe we're just more willing to write it off and not consider it as serious an offence as if a man was stalking a woman. Who knows? There's a lot to talk about in forensic psychology. It's a very interesting subject. But yeah, so it's difficult to also define types of stalkers because there are a lot of let's see, not etiological problems, but there are a lot of problems with how you collate data. For example, there could be a lot of people out there conducting behaviours that you might consider stalking, but legally they're not stalking, so they're not counted as statistics. Or you may get your statistics from a group of people who've been convicted of stalking, and that doesn't account for, that's a sampling bias there. It doesn't account for the people who stalk and don't get caught for it, or do get caught and don't get prosecuted for it. So again, there are a lot of difficulties around even defining stalkers and finding much information about them. But generally, Zola, I can't remember the other two names, but Zola and two other people, which I think was around 2002, maybe 2005. Again, down here. It's great being able to correct my own mistakes. They proposed a typology of like 3 distinct categories of stalkers, and it can broadly be defined by their relationship to the offender. There's erotomanic stalkers, and these are people who have the delusion that their victim is in love with them. You think of a lot of celebrity stalkers here, like Bjork and Madonna, and was it Jodie Foster? The one who's, was it Jamie Lee Curtis? I think it's Jodie Foster, the one whose erotomanic stalker was so fixated with her that he went to shoot Ronald Reagan, I think. But yeah, generally these are defined by the belief that the victim is in love with them, and from the victim's perspective, they don't even know they exist. The victim is unaware of this person. There's no prior relationship. in cases of like where it's a celebrity or a public figure, they might have like once or twice asked for an autograph or come to a convention to meet and greet, but generally there's no like pre-existing relationship like friendship or intimate relationship or work. So that's erotomanic. It's the delusion that defines that. And then there's simple obsessional and love obsessional. And simple obsessional is defined by a pre-existing relationship. It can be intimate, but it's usually like a friendship or professional. And it's not, there's no delusion, but it is driven by an attempt by the stalker to, it's either from an act of vengeance for some perceived slight, or it's a desire to initiate a relationship or advance a friendship to another level. And so it's the pre-existing relationship that defines them. And then there's love obsessional, which is similar, but the relationship doesn't necessarily have to exist. The person stalking wants to initiate, or it wants to initiate a relationship, but the person being stalked, the victim, doesn't necessarily need to know that there is a pre-existing relationship. So it's defined by the relationship between the stalker and the victim. And the problem here is that it can also be driven by vengeance. So like Super Crazy said, if at some point Phil wrongs OIC in some way, and publicly, Phil is very fond of using public humiliation, public shaming as a means to control his audience, because you'll notice how often somebody might say something that he thinks is stupid or he disagrees with, and he excoriates them in front of, he will stop the stream to address them and he'll be like, you fucking idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a fucking moron, this is bullshit, you're spreading shit, get the fuck out of my chat, enjoy your leaning ban, all that stuff. That's a very effective way of keeping the rest of people under your thumb, because speaking out carries this mega penalty of being publicly humiliated in front of the rest of the group who you are also identified with. This group is important to you, you're all friends here because you're all here to see Phil. So if Phil at any point publicly shames OIC, like Super Crazy said, he better hope that OIC goes like, fuck you, I'm done, rather than I want revenge, I want payback, you owe me, because he could very well do, given the amount of money and time that an emotional investment that OIC has in Phil. It's very possible that if Phil ever slights him, OIC could go, right, you owe me, you fucker, I'm coming for you. And it's going to be doubly dangerous because he's only half an hour away, and if he's found Phil's full address by this point, let's assume that he has, because at the start, sure, you might not know, but at this point you will have discovered what Kiwi Farms is, and you will have found Phil's docs. At this point, he probably knows the area. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if OIC had previously been to that area just to sort of check it out, scope it out, and see, get a sort of feel for where the streets are and where the back alleys are and where he can watch Phil. Just generally get a lay of the land, So it's going to be very dangerous for Phil. He's playing a very dangerous game, and that's why it's so fucking incredibly stupid and terrifying to me that he said what he said about people being obsessed with you and stalking, being good fans, because that's the sort of thing that you really want to discourage when you are dealing with people who you are trying to get emotionally invested in you, because they're not going to have an idea of what is healthy and appropriate within this sort of parasocial relationship, So it's fucking terrifying. I'm chuckling out of nervousness. It's terrifying to me that you could, it's the stupidest thing he's ever said, because it's so dangerous for him. It's so fucking reckless. And maybe that's a sign of how bad things are for Phil. Maybe that's him going, well, I've got fucking nothing else to lose, Probably not consciously, but he's aware that because it's getting harder for him to get money from people, and it's harder to get support, he's having to escalate things somewhat. So that's why he's trying to be, he's casting his net wide again. He's like, look, if you're following me, if you're, to that level, then you're a good fan. Because he wants those people who are following, and he knows that it's a lot of his audience now, because he's only got a few of them left. Most people have left over the 13 years that he's been doing this. So he knows that he wants them people to be as invested as possible. He doesn't want to fuck them off too much. So he tells them that their behaviour is good. And the problem with that is that OIC is going to see that and think, oh, somebody similar, somebody in the similar sort of mindset is going to see that and think, great, then I'm okay with what I'm doing. That's fine. I can keep doing this. So, yeah, you fucking moron, Phil. That has to be the stupidest thing you've said ever. Just how risky it is to you and your wife and your cat that you claim to give so much of a shit about. Oh god, I can't wait to get onto them. I can't wait to get onto his wife and his relationship with women, basically. That's going to be fun. But for now, that's just a bit about stalkers that I wanted to do. That's ended up being a bit longer than I expected. I am going to come back to this super crazy video as well. It's Catch a Pig number 3, I think. It might be 3 or 4. I could just check now by like moving part 4. Just by moving the mouse and having the file name appear on screen. It's part 4. Because after this is somebody else that Super Crazy specifically wanted me to address. So I'm going to come back to that in the next one and sort of build off that. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say for this video. It's a really fucking stupid thing that Phil said. And it's because of people like OIC, people who are invested to that extent in Phil, that they're not going to be able to disconnect themselves from him and step back from him and sort of like go, hey, this isn't appropriate. And Phil is not going to be the one who says, hey, this is not appropriate, until it's much later than other people would allow. Other people would have cut stuff like this off much sooner. So, yeah, that was a stupid one, Phil. That was probably the stupidest one, actually. But thanks everybody else for watching. Appreciate it. See you all later. Soon, my precious. Soon.